Now, we got this report in July this year from Ofcom, the regulator, that revealed for the first time less than half of 16 to 24-year-olds were watching traditional TV, both live and catch-up, each week. The drop-off among children aged 4 to 15, similarly rapid as well. So if we go back to 2018, more than 80% of kids that age were watching traditional TV. 2023, just 55%. That's how big the fall was. Now, just before Christmas, Patricia Hidalgo, who's the Director of Children's and Education at the BBC, warned a generation of children were at risk of losing their connection to British culture. So to crunch some of the numbers around this, I caught up with Bella Monkham, who's from the media research company Enders Analysis.
The biggest challenge is underinvestment in the children's TV industry at the moment. Spend from the public service broadcasters has been falling year on year to 74 million in 2023, and that's down from 104 million in 2019 in real terms. And that's led to a declining number of programmes being broadcast each year too. So Ofcom figures show that the volume of first-run UK-originated children's programming on these PSB channels dropped to its lowest level in 2023 at just 467 hours. Now, that's down from 640 in 2019 and down from the thousands in around 2006, 2007. So that's really significant.
And so what is it that is attracting kids' eyeballs at the moment? How have habits changed of what they're looking at when they're staring at a screen?
Yeah, so children in general are watching much less traditional broadcast TV content. Their engagement with that has declined by about 70% over the past decade, with almost 50% of that taking place in the last 5 years alone. And that viewing time is now going to more modern streaming services such as Netflix, Disney+. But perhaps more worryingly, around half of their viewing time is now going to TikTok and YouTube. And those both TikTok and YouTube both rank higher than the BBC in terms of time spent. And they spend more time now with Netflix than the BBC as well. So those public service broadcast services really dropping in importance for children.
And is there an age group? We talk about children, that's a very broad group, isn't it? Are there certain age groups where you might see a bigger drop-off in content, quality content being made and being consumed?
Yeah, so it's sort of the engagement with traditional broadcast TV, that decline is similar for all sort of age groups of children, but within that, you can see them going to different types of content. So younger children, the sort of under sevens, leading the charge with the SVOD platforms more, which is Netflix, Disney+, which is perhaps less worrying because there is still good children's content on there. But it's really the kind of older children, sort of 11 to 15-year-olds, who are watching much more online video from YouTube and TikTok. And that's where the kind of safety worries come in. About quality of content.
Now, listening to that was Anita Frost, who's the founder of Green Bean Studios, which is a home of a children's entertainment brand that features cartoon characters, toys, makes content on YouTube in particular. Anita, morning to you.
Good morning, Sean.
When you hear that where those trends are going there, do you see that you're sort of functioning in an industry where children are getting lower quality content than they would have done in the past?
Absolutely. And the core foundation of Green Bean Studios is founded on child development, over 20 years of experience. And we've come into the market to be a resolution for this problem because our kids are lacking in the content that supports their development. And as you said, Green Bean Studios is multifaceted. So we're moving in the spaces that kids need. They need wholesome toys. They need sound media. They need that engagement with their parents and grandparents to help them grow. And media is not cutting that right now. And that's why we're seeing the fall and we're seeing our kids declining, not only in what they're watching, but how they're behaving.
But yeah, Anita, your rivals on YouTube, that will, for example, that will be trying to get the eyeballs of those kids, may be doing it in a lower cost way and maybe getting those kids to watch for longer. Does there need to be a regulatory change around that?
Absolutely. If we look back to when we had our original channels, family life hasn't changed. Parents go out to work and kids go out to school, and then they come home, and then it's time for mum and dad to get the TV on, or grandparents are looking after the children. But what's happened in between? Our kids are accessing channels which you've said are not regulated. So that is where the regulation needs to come in, because kids do deserve to sit down after school and have that sound media. But who are your kids sitting with at the moment? And parents, we need to do an education piece for the parents, for the grandparents around these unregulated channels. Who are the creators? Who are sitting with your children when you are not sitting with them? It's huge. And that's what's causing the side effects, because the kids, Sean, they would sit there and consume and consume and consume because of the addictivity of a lot of these shows that are being created. The stimuli in the colours are overwhelming, and it's causing our kids to be locked in, highly addictive. And when you take something from an addict, it's not pretty. So then we're hearing all these tantrums from our kids.
Anita, what happens when you have conversations with, those commissioning stuff from the more traditional broadcasters? The fact that you're focusing on YouTube, it implies that, that's where kids are going. How do you get content that you want to be making on maybe platforms that we would see as more traditional?
Yeah, the whole landscape of a business getting into broadcasting is completely changed. And, some of the guests have already shared that. So we have to be disruptive about this. Ideally, we just need to create better partnerships. We've seen the retail world, that's completely changed. People are partnering. Two businesses are in one establishment to make rents and rates work. We need to come together across the whole children's sector, broadcasting, child development, child practitioners, and come together and create something that's wholesome, and bring in YouTube, your TikTok, and educate them, because they didn't design these platforms for the loopholes that are existing and the problems that are created. We need to get together and save our kids. It's out of hand right now.
Anita, thank you. Anita Frost there, who's founder of Green Bean Studios.